Numbers are energy, and each number holds a unique spiritual virtue. And we can use these virtues as gates or portals to our spiritual awakening through adopting them as steps that we climb to reach higher dimensions. In this video, it is my intention to demonstrate how each number assists us in obtaining an understanding that expands our personal spiritual growth. We can learn the virtues of each number separately, but I want to show you how they work together from number 1 through number 9 that can guide us closer toward our spiritual ascension. Now, this process is not meant to be complicated. And if you saw my last video where I suggested that numbers are connected to our spiritual world, then it would help you understand this process of using numbers as a ladder, or better described as a spiral, ascending through the spiritual initiations that we came here to learn. Most people view numerology one number at a time, whether it is searching for your life path, your life purpose, your destiny, or learning the meaning of our angel numbers. In this process, we not only begin to understand the virtues of each number, but we get to learn how each number affects one another, the one before and the number after, on the ladder of 1 through 9. Hello and welcome. I'm Sara Bachmeier with Egyptian Numerology. I'm the author of Egyptian Numerology, Emergence into the Fifth Dimension, which explains the basics of Egyptian numerology and my journey into this divining tool. And my second book, The Path of a Wounded Healer, Liberation is for the Asking. Now, this book was inspired by the spiritual journey of master numbers and for really all light workers incarnated at this time. For years, I have been helping people explore their sacred vocation and elevate their personal ascension through Egyptian numerology light codes, which are calculated off of your birth date and your birth name. And I also use your birth time. I've been watching these light workers align with their true nature and manifest magic in the form of service to individual and global consciousness. It's so exciting. I'm so proud of you guys. Absolutely nothing brings more joy to my heart than being an instrumental conduit and a witness to the unleashing of all of your untapped potential and spiritual progress. Numbers speak to me through the ethers of time and place and space. They have a language of pure intention and direction. Every number holds a sacred intelligence, an angelic message, and offers spiritual guidance. The ancient Egyptians believed in the concept of our personal attainment towards ascension long before Christ came to remind us of our human divinity here on earth. The Egyptians used symbols to communicate and tap into the archetypal mind, and these symbols represent the ascension process in terms of eternal life, rebirth, and the afterlife. Pythagoras spent 22 years in Egypt studying the theology of numeric intelligence and eventually illustrated the vibration of each number and their sacred virtues, or what I like to call initiations, leading to a higher consciousness. It is the internal spiritual progress that I want to share with you. We find each number as a progressive stepping stone or a rung on a ladder, reaching into and through the higher dimensions. The quote from the Egyptian Book of the Dead appeals to this process so beautifully. In order for the teachings of mystical spirituality to come true in your life, you must make them the central force in your life. You must center your life around them and infuse them into every aspect of your life. So beautiful. The Egyptian mystery schools found the numeric passageway through the initiations that one had to pass through to enter the gates of spiritual awareness. They worked with vibrations of numbers and not only their characteristics, but the laws that govern them. Initiations come to us in the form of virtues. They hold the keys to a higher knowledge, understanding of ourselves, and an acute perception of the world around us. When we accept the invitation to spiritual awakening, we begin to recognize, practice, and implement these virtues into our daily lives. They become keys to the gates that we pass through to a higher understanding of truthful living. Now, some people are born with an inner sense of higher wisdom, and some of us find it along the way of self discovery. If we desire to achieve personal attainment, these numeric initiations are stepping stones to reaching an elevated state of consciousness. All of these numeric initiations are really an act of personal power. They show up in our lives as opportunities to adopt virtues, and these specific merits hold a high level of energy when implemented into our daily lives. Now, the reason that we want to accept these initiations when they're presented to us is because they lead us to a higher spiritual awareness, allowing us to maintain a raised energy status. The higher we vibrate, the greater possibilities we attract into our lives. All gates can be entered independently, or they can be used to build on one another. Every gate interacts with and can be applied to all other gates. The numbers associated with each gate resonate with the vibration and the characteristic of the number frequency that's assigned to that gate. I know it sounds confusing, but it's really not. Let me see if I can help you understand this. In my book, The Path of a Wounded Healer, Liberation is for the Asking, I refer to the meaning really of one's soul life path number. But in this video and demonstration, I'm using a numeric template to refer to the dimensional shifts occurring or can occur on one's spiritual journey. The vibrational virtues found in each number have magnetic qualities, attracting specific people, places, events, and circumstances to us. And these circle or orbit our lives in the form of a sacred spiral, bringing us opportunities to advance our spiritual directives concerning the meaning found within these initiations, these virtues, these numbers, and of course, these lessons. Each of us can go an entire lifetime or more not completing these lessons, only to return again in attempt to finalize the ascension back home. Learning the qualities and implementing them into our lives is a huge part of being in alignment with your soul's journey. Initiations offer an opening to a higher awareness, exclusive opportunities, and soul revelations. Now, if we find ourselves out of alignment with Source, there is sure to be an initiation that is blocked. Or maybe we just haven't been willing to accept, implement, and explore the depths of its truth within our lives. These initiations are doorways, they're openings or portals to spiritual awareness. We never access the key to these doors and then graduate. They serve as an abyss of expanded wisdom. Like the peeling of an onion, there's always another layer beneath the surface. It takes daily vigilance and commitment to hold these virtues under all conditions and circumstances. Although this path is under the premise of progress and not perfection, there lies an infinite Teo that longs to be grasped and maintained. Now, we may know the definitions of each initiation, but how are they understood and practiced in our lives? Are we becoming examples of self mastery, or are we staying content to be a wanderer? A wanderer is educated about spiritual awareness, but never truly goes through the transformation process that's required to sustain necessary progress. Wanderers tend to talk a good talk, but their walk is always sideways. So I encourage you to embrace these initiations and embody the chasm of truth within your soul. And in doing so, you will lead others through these doorways and closer to their soul life mission. Here are the gates that serve as a spiral or a ladder, where each rung that you climb leads you higher into the dimensions. So we start with number one. Number one is the first one, the awakening. As an ascension symbol, the number one is the beginning of our spiritual journey. Ascension number 1111 is an activation light code that ignites the awakening of our ascent to a higher consciousness. It's here when we recognize that we have been asleep, and the spiritual journey is a sobering path inward. Healthy selfishness allows us to take responsibility for our lives and release any hostages we have previously blamed for our unhappiness. It all begins with the number one. This spiritual journey begins with the number one. We go into the number two, which is unity. After the number one, we experience the number two, which is a life with duality. The number two represents two ones standing side by side, like in the Roman numerals. When duality comes into play, we are given the opportunity to experience life outside of ourselves. It gives us the perception of separation. We are all born into a third dimensional planet where we learn through polarity. Duality is the product of the mind. In duality, we essentially split or divide life into positive or negative, male, female, right, wrong, good or bad, holy or sinful, love, hate, and so forth. And as a result, our lives become centered around judgment, condemnation, and fear. As a soul, you have experienced both light and dark. This lifetime is an opportunity to embrace and embody the best parts of yourself, to hold as much light as heavenly possible. Your soul resides above this duality without judgment or resentment, knowing that it has experienced both. Embracing both polarities allows you to be an integrated, multidimensional being. So next we come into the number three, which I call the sacred Trinity. After we experience the duality of the number two, we're given the opportunity to rise above and connect with Source. And this is when the two opposites, male and female, yin and yang, consciously connect with Source, as perfectly demonstrated in the sacred current of the triangle. The male and the female are on the bottom, and they connect to the top point, which is Source. Through the power of Source connection, we learn to express ourselves in various forms of creativity. All of us are born with specific gifts, talents, and potential to demonstrate our joy for living. The power of the number three is about expansion, exploration, and experiencing the mystical life force flowing through our mind, heart, and body, the Holy Trinity. Next, we go to the number four, which is the sacred order of the physical world. After experiencing 1, 2, and 3, the number 4 stabilizes our physical body to the earth. We become aware and connect to the universal laws found in nature and our planetary position in the universe. There is a natural order to the universe, and it is demonstrated through our 4 seasons, 4 elements, 4 weeks in a month, 4 times of a day, 4 major minerals, and so forth. We were intended to learn from the rhythm within the sacred natural order of our planet. And when we ignore these laws, we are discarding vital resources that teach us how to live in harmony with nature. Next is the number 5. The number 5 is impermanence. After implementing the number 4 energy of stability, sacred law, and universal order, we enter the laws of energy, especially the law of impermanence. Life is in constant flux. Change is constant. The number 5 reminds us of this and refers to our 5 physical senses as the centers to develop portals into our psychic awareness. That we are meant to develop our 5 senses and raise them higher and open the doors to our psychic gifts. Here we demonstrate the esoteric principles of cosmic transformation. The number 5 is the phoenix rising out of the fire. It is the instigator seeking wisdom and overcoming stagnant thinking, reminding us that life is a spiral, always moving forward, reaching higher dimensions, and expanding our cosmic awareness. Next, we come to the number 6, which is about balance. Number 6 brings us to balancing the material and the spiritual worlds. This energy resides in our heart center, where we have 3 chakras below, which are our physical centers, and 3 chakras above, which are our spiritual centers. Balance and harmony flows from the house of the soul, which is our heart. The number 6 energy represents our connection between our physical and our spiritual worlds. So after we have explored the number 6, balance between the material and the spiritual, we come to number 7, which the heart for the number 6 is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. And the number 7 is the bridge between religion and spirituality. The number 7 energy can best be described through the 7 hermetic principles. These principles remain an occult source of wisdom, separate from any real religion, but yet a powerful spiritual resource. The 7 principles are the foundation of Hermeticism. Say that fast 3 times. A branch of spiritual philosophy dating back as early as the 1st century AD. They were outlined by the author Hermes Trismegistus. I hope I pronounced that properly. Now, his work would go on to influence both ancient Greek and Egyptian cultures, with both adopting him as the god of wisdom. In Greece, he was called Hermes. In Egypt, Thoth. He was known in his time as a great master of the universe and was said to have lived for thousands of years. Oh boy, right? Over time, the 7 hermetic principles were passed down by word of mouth from teacher to student until the early 20th century, when the teachings were compiled into a book called the Kybalion, written by the 3 initiates. Today, the 7 principles are just one way of understanding the universe, and they aren't so constricting that they cannot be studied alongside other spiritual philosophies. So I'm going to briefly go through these 7 hermetic principles. Some of you probably already know these by heart, and some don't know them, but may have heard them before. So the 7 principles that I'm talking about, hermetic principles, is the principle of gender, meaning gender isn't everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. The next one is vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates. The next one is correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. Now, next one is polarity, which we talked about with the number 2. It seems like these hermetic principles kind of tie in to this ladder that I'm speaking, the spiritual ladder that I'm speaking about. Polarity, everything is dual. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree, extreme, when extremes meet. The next one is rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings to the right, which is the same measure of the swing to the left, and rhythm compensates. The next one is cause and effect. Everything has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Mentalism. The all is the mind. The universe is mental. Probably, I don't know, a decade ago, I might have disagreed with that or debated it out of fun and exploration. I know that you hear my dog in the background. I apologize. He's a little chihuahua and he has a mind of his own. So I have a toy here, which I will give to him if he continues. Thank you for your patience with him. Okay, so number 8 is about manifestation. So when we are in balance with the physical and the spiritual realms, which we kind of just discussed with the 7 hermetic principles, manifestation occurs. I often refer to this energy as the magician. Understanding and implementing the physical laws with the spiritual laws allows us to manifest our intentions. Now, if you look at the number 8, the bottom loop of the number 8 represents our physical connection, and the top loop of the number 8 is our spiritual world. And our intentions that we manifest from is the link between the two. Our intentions are created between the link of the 2 loops. The next one and the last one that I'm going to speak about today is the number 9, and that's about self-mastery. This energy represents the last single-digit number of our spectrum. When we climb the numeric ladder of personal growth, we are determined to complete our physical cycle here on Earth. And this can only happen after following the previous steps up the ladder. When we get to this step, we have completed our life contract and reached the potential toward personal ascension. In traditional or classic numerology, the number 9 often depicts the end or endings, but we now know that there is no end to spirit. It lives on after death and or transforms into another realm to be determined to return or be delivered to another realm, another planet, who knows. So there you have it, the numeric stepping stones to a higher consciousness. Now, these are very brief descriptions of the numbers and their spiritual virtues. If you want to learn more about these numbers and how they apply to your soul life agreement, you can schedule a one-on-one personal chart reading with me, or you can join my mentorship program and work one-on-one with me to explore, unravel, and experience your soul life contract. You can learn more about Egyptian numerology on my website at www.egyptiannumerology.org. And check out the links in the description box below. I have many resources that you can refer to. So please let me know if you resonate with this information by liking, sharing, commenting, and of course, subscribing to my channel. Thank you for joining me today and have an amazing month. Namaste.